Man, I don't even think I can find the wit to tell you about that record, man, without telling you about that record. It's a new life. It's a new life.
So I was taking a walk the other day.
In Kendrick Lamar's album Damn, he begins with a question.
Is it wickedness?
He believes he is cursed.
Is it weakness?
And asks us to judge him.
You decide.
In the first track, Blood, Kendrick wonders if he's lost something.
You have lost something. You've lost your life.
He's shot and his life flashes before his eyes as he searches for salvation in the eyes of a creator. But all he can hear are the criticisms of the world ringing in his ears.
And we hate the popo, want to kill us in the street, faux show.
Ah, please. Ugh, I don't like it.
I got realness, I just kill shit cause it's in my DNA.
Kendrick argues that he is merely a product of his DNA.
I got dark, I got evil that rot inside my DNA.
Whether born into crime or riches, neither are a choice, but a roll of the dice. He didn't choose his life, but is damned to it. Kendrick pleads that he's not responsible for his actions because they were predetermined by nature and nurture, two things he didn't have any control over. Yet he disagrees with himself.
Bitch, your hormones probably switch inside your DNA. Problem is, all that sucker shit inside your DNA. Daddy probably snitch, heritage inside your DNA.
This internal disagreement unshackles Kendrick into two versions of himself. One believes he has free choice, the other believes his fate is sealed within his DNA.
Sex, money, murder, our DNA.
There is a question at the root of the album. Can we break free from what's ingrained in our DNA, or are we destined to repeat the patterns of our ancestors, stuck in a cyclical nature where choices are merely instinctual responses? Throughout the rest of the album, these two Kendricks argue over whether or not they are anything more than what's in their DNA, because despite the negative elements, he also sees love, joy, and ambition within his heritage, which ultimately laid the foundation for his life to unfold. Even though he was born into a life of crime and poverty, he managed to defy his expected fate, becoming one of the world's greatest artists. This is why he presents himself as a prophet. He is living proof that intergenerational curses can be broken. But how? Damn is his attempt to answer this question.
Pay attention.
How can we be masters of our fate if fate is pre-written within our DNA? He tells us about his early life when he felt a force. Like a radio buzzing, he could tune into a signal that became a source of direction.
It's out of my hands. These words, you know, these are ideas that's coming way beyond me. Man, that's just how I feel about it since day one.
Each track is an element Kendrick finds in his DNA. These elements are ancestral forces ingrained deeply within who we are, informing every action we take. He meditates on the motivations behind his life's choices. Was he moved by fear? Inspired by pride? Was it lust or loyalty? Were they really choices at all or just cause and effect? We see him struggle with this question, with himself, the inner conflict vividly portrayed through the yin and yang of black and white, in the circular narrative and visual elements. The whole album is circles within circles, like generations repeating the patterns of their ancestors. Kendrick doesn't see an escape out of this loop, but maybe if he can't escape his DNA, he can embrace it.
Having the idea of my father being, you know, just a complete realist.
Girl, I want your body. I want your body, cause you got that big old fat ass.
And my mother having this idea of being a dreamer. That was implanted in me first. That's just DNA, you know, who I am. And the things I talk about today, it's always the yin and the yang, the good versus the evil. And that's how I feel as a person.
It's in this duality that he sees his own reflection, watching himself, wondering how these elements took control of his destiny.
Damn will be the idea, I can't change the world until I change myself. you know. So when you listen to records like Pride, Humble, Lust, Love, these is all just human emotions, and me looking in the mirror and coming to grips with them.
He realizes that emotions are the tides coursing through our story. They underlie every decision and thought. Life is saturated in how we feel. The more powerful the feeling, the more control it has.
If I can smoke fear away, I roll that motherfucker up.
Fear binds us to the past, anchoring us in familiar patterns to shield us from uncertainty, offering the comfort of what we have always known.
Life's a bitch, pull them panties to the side now.
Kendrick concludes the album by recounting a true story of two men. Anthony, a man cursed by unfortunate circumstances, committed crimes like robbing KFCs.
His family history, pimping and banking. He was meant to be dangerous.
Kendrick's father worked at one of these KFCs.
He worked the window, his name was Ducky. He came from the streets.
Knowing Anthony's heritage, Ducky befriended him, showing
He
kindness.
figured he'd get on these niggas' good sides. Free chicken every time Anthony posted in line. 2 extra biscuits.
Anthony did end up robbing the KFC Ducky worked at.
Anthony liked him and then let him slide. They didn't kill him.
These choices broke Kendrick's curse and is the key to the whole album.
Pay attention, that one decision changed both of their lives. One curse at a time, reverse and manifest a good karma, and I tell you why. You take two strangers and put them in random predicaments. Give them a soul so they can make their own choices and live with it.
We realize that Kendrick didn't break his own curse, his father did. Ducky made the choices that infused Kendrick's life with what he needed to end his generational loop.
Whoever thought the greatest rapper would be from coincidence? Because if Anthony killed Ducky, Top Dog could be serving life while I grow up without a father and die in a gunfight.
We're gonna put it in reverse.
Once Kendrick finds the answer he's been searching for, he's shot again, and the album reverses, revealing a new origin of the two Kendricks.
So I was taking a walk the other day.
The theoretical Kendrick that was created at the beginning of the album, we now understand is from the timeline where Anthony had killed Ducky. If Kendrick's father had died, he could have lived out a life defined by his circumstances and would have never become the Kendrick Lamar we know today. And Anthony could have been put in prison for murder, never becoming top dog of Top Dog Entertainment, the record company that made Kendrick's career possible.
My Top Dog brother's Top Dog himself, us eating you out of house and home. We'll never forget that.
The meaning Kendrick finds in this coincidence reveals that properly motivated choices create new possibilities, new timelines, not simply for the one making them, but for the future generations that follow. The path to breaking away from one's predetermined scripted fate lies in granting individuals the autonomy to make choices and live with the consequences. Meaning, who knows if our choices are predetermined or free? That's not the point. The point is to let whatever choices you do end up making transform you. We hear several times throughout the album,
What happens on Earth stays on Earth.
meaning that the world is where karmic debts are paid and rewards collected, not in heaven. God isn't judging Kendrick. The world is. We are. This judgment is not a curse, but an intergenerational conversation that we have to have. There's no escaping it. We are damned by what our parents created. But the question is, what did they create?
Who praying for me?
Crimson red appears everywhere, symbolizing the violence and anger haunting our bloodlines, but it also represents sacrifice, rebirth, and
God's gonna get you killed, but pride's gonna be the death of you and you and me and you and you.
there are two kinds of death. Death in life is avoiding being transformed by our choices. Life in death is letting go of what no longer serves us, making choices future generations can look back on and say, that's in my heritage, that's in my blood, that's an option. Everything lives within our DNA, the good and bad. Salvation is not found by escaping this condition, but by embracing it, not as something that needs to be overcome, but something that needs becoming. The way out is through.
Tell me who you know you to. Is it love for the the streets when the lights get dark. It's unconditional when the robbery don't stop. Tell me when your loyalty is coming from the heart.
We create the future using the lessons of the past. The idea of absolute free will is kind of absurd. If your will was completely free, it would have no context for making choices. It needs past experiences to reference and pre-existing desires to fulfill.
Tell me who you're loyal to.
So in a sense, we can will whatever we want, but we can't will what we will. We all want to love and be loved. We didn't choose this desire, and yet it directs most of life's most profound decisions. In the track Love, Kendrick tells us about when he was little and his mom told his dad that he must give up a life of crime in Chicago and move to the West Coast if he wanted to be with her. Ducky's decision to choose love over the pride of the streets, the lust of violence, and the fear of the unknown created for Kendrick the environment he needed to overcome his generational curse. Ducky's choices live in Kendrick's DNA, providing historical and genetic precedents for Kendrick to work with. It's in this story that we get to see the actual mechanism of generational healing, and it's not that deep. Like all of us, Kendrick just wants to be loved. Love washes away fear and shame. It's the feeling of newness, new opportunities, new bloodlines, new DNA. When you love something, you sacrifice for it and are thus transformed by it. Love is the thread weaving through every human heart that pulls us into a more beautiful world. But is this enough to contend with the primordial forces vying for control? Can we choose love and life when there is so much pain and pride in our lineage?
Ain't no hole inside my DNA.
Is that what I think that is? I know that's not what I think that is. Why are you so angry? See, you young men are dying of thirst. Do you know what that means? That means you need water.
Celebrate new life when it come back around. The purpose is in the lessons we learning now. Sacrifice personal gain over everything, just to see the next generation better than ours.
Wow, you made it all the way to the end. Congratulations to the both of us. I hope that it made sense, but not too much sense, and I hope that you enjoyed it. But again, hopefully not too much. I hope you enjoyed it just enough to be curious about what I am working on next. And so I've created some fun links if you are interested. Thanks. Bye-bye. Love you.